And welcome back, folks. Time now for our Georgia Best Chevy Sunday Conversation. In our third and final installment with Herschel Walker, the former Bulldog Heisman Trophy winner and Celebrity Cook-Off champion discusses what wasn't necessarily the breakfast of champions, but it was a diet that worked for him.
That's right, Zach. Emory leads NYU coming into the second half, 46-35, and this is just the beginning of an incredibly important weekend here for the Eagles.
Now to a developing story. The turmoil in Ukraine today. Pro-Moscow demonstrators seized a government building. The U.S. and its allies accuse Moscow of invading Ukraine, and they're demanding Russia withdraw its forces. A week ago, Susan Weidman was convicted on charges of racketeering and mortgage fraud, and today as she stood in front of the judge with her attorney awaiting her sentencing, the judge noticed that she showed little remorse for her actions and didn't understand the gravity of her crimes, and as a result, he showed her little leniency.
Now today we're going to be keeping a very close eye on freshman pitcher Brittany File. You can see her on the mound right behind me. Yesterday she tossed a complete game shutout, allowing just 4 hits and striking out 16 girls, which we've come to find out is the second highest individual game total in school history.
Approximately 3 months ago, residents of the King Bridge retirement community put together care packages intended for troops in Afghanistan for Veterans Day. And today we found out that most of those packages never got there. And in fact, they're still sitting in this DeKalb County post office right behind me. 2 other individuals are already serving time for related crimes. And today's sentencing wrapped up the investigation that we've been following since Weidman was indicted in 2011. In Cobb County, Sam Bleiweis, Channel 2 Action News. Poison experts don't really know what's in this stuff used to smoke electronic cigarettes, but they say that even a teaspoon of it, if ingested, could potentially be deadly. E-cigarettes are a growing trend, according to Dr. Gaylord Lopez with the Georgia Poison Center.
The liquid nicotine is very potent, and in just a few drops can cause someone to go into the hospital. A few more drops after that can even be lethal.
E-liquid is made of nicotine and other chemicals, and it comes in an assortment of flavors. You can find it almost anywhere, even in your local gas station. Since 2011, the Georgia Poison Center has received around 60 calls about possible e-cigarette poisonings.
The majority of cases that poison centers are seeing are in kids under the age of 5.
According to the National Poison Center, there has been a 300% increase in poisoning cases from 2012 to 2013. Lopez says that this is largely because there is no regulation on e-cigarettes by the FDA.
They're not even regulated by the FDA. In fact, unlike cigarettes, you could be any age and purchase these items.
This woman says that's why she chooses not to smoke e-cigarettes.
I think things should be regulated by the government. I mean, if we have more control over what we give to people and have an age for it, then they can make the decisions and know what time to make those decisions.
The FDA is expected to post some regulations on e-liquid in the near future. In Northwest Atlanta, Sam Bleiweis, Channel 2 Action News. McLean Bradley suffered a season-ending injury early last month, but it's not one that you can see. As a running back for the Westminster High School varsity football team, McLean says he was running with the ball when he collided with the other team's cornerback. It was a hard hit to the right side of his head, and he says although he sat out for one play, he played the rest of the game and didn't notice that there was something seriously wrong until the next night.
I really didn't feel it the next morning, but later on that night, I started getting really dizzy and nauseous, and a couple days later I threw up once, and that's when I had to stay in the dark room for a long time.
McLean's younger brother Christian took me into this dark room, which is a small secret room with no windows in the Bradley's house. Christian also spent time in the dark room this fall when he too suffered a concussion a week after his brother during head-to-head contact playing football on Westminster's JV squad.
After I got hit, when I got up, I felt very dizzy and nauseous, and I had a sharp pain in the front of my head where I got hit, and also my head was throbbing a lot.
It's called Detect, and it's a screening test made up of a tablet computer with headphones and goggles. When an athlete logs a hard hit on the sensor in their helmet, they simply step off the field and take a quick cognitive test on the device. Researchers say if the device proves useful after further study, it could seriously change sideline treatment of concussions.
Well, what we want to do is provide a bigger and more expanded toolbox for our athletic trainers and our medical staff on the sideline. They already do a wonderful job, but a lot of the tools that they currently have are pretty subjective. We've now provided an objective measure to help the sideline medical personnel determine if a player is concussed or needs to stay out from further play.
Westminster head athletic trainer Donna Hayes says that this new technology could help her tremendously because right now the current diagnostic tools and protocols don't always help her recognize subtle concussion symptoms.
It's so difficult to kind of manage because there's not a cookbook recipe for this. Every athlete is totally different. So we have a protocol that we try to, we follow, but it may be implemented in different ways for each athlete.
Espinosa and her team are planning to continue studying the use of Detect among athletes like McLean and Christian, and she hopes the study will prove itself useful in the near future. I'm Sam Bleiweis with Emory News Now.
This is the home where one woman says that Debt Stoppers failed to file paperwork that she says could have saved her house from foreclosure.
Ingrid Backus keeps stacks of printed emails dating back to 2010 because it's the only proof that she has that she was wrongly evicted from her home.
That was my first house. I loved my house. I loved it. 12 years.
After being rear-ended and damaging multiple discs in her back and neck, Backus was unable to work and began to get behind on her mortgage at her Powder Springs home. She then hired Debt Stoppers to manage her bankruptcy.
But I was under the impression that everything was fine.
But it wasn't fine. She says that her Debt Stoppers lawyers failed to file an extension to stay claim that would have supported her bankruptcy and allowed her to stay in her home. As a result, she was evicted and had to move to a small apartment.
I was so lost I didn't know what to do.
She says that if Debt Stoppers had filed the paperwork during the period that she was waiting to get her disability pay, she would still be in her house today.
I would be happy. I would be able to keep up with my mortgage payments. I would have been able to live my life like I did before.
We reached out to Debt Stoppers, but they did not want to comment.
After years of legal battles, Ingrid says that for now she will remain in her apartment, but that one day she hopes to own a home again after the mark on her credit clears. From Powder Springs, Sam Bleiweis, Channel 2 Action News.